My game of the year got some new info. Black Myth Wukong demo and leaks have fans both worried and stoked. Let's check it out.
Multiple endings, over 80 bosses, over 160 enemy types, no difficulty settings. These are just some of the things that have potentially leaked about the Journey to the West inspired action RPG in Black Myth Wukong. And while the crazy amounts of both
I'm so excited
bosses
for this
and
game,
enemy
bro.
types may seem appealing if this source turns out to be true, it's also got many fans worried about what may ultimately define this highly anticipated game. If you're looking forward to trying this game out on August 20th or are interested in maybe checking it out at a later date, consider entering into my Digital Deluxe Edition giveaway where you have a chance to earn the game for free for the platform of your choice. Check out the link in the description to get started.
What you mean platform of your choice?
This is the post where ex-user
only on 2 right now.
Ignis the Wise disclosed some key information about
I decided to share some info about. I read this before. Yeah, I decided to share some info about Black Myth Wukong before the pre-orders are open. The game will have New Game Plus at launch. That's awesome. Multiple endings. Awesome. Around 160 plus enemy types. Awesome. 80 plus boss fights. Awesome. This game is slightly easier than Soulsborne games, and I love that too. I don't want to lose my mind, but if it says slightly, we got that keyword is slightly though. The fact that they got 80 bosses. From what I've seen, this ain't no easy game. Main reason why I say it's not an easy game, you do have to like be a little bit of skilled and kind of like really learn your enemy. I've seen like 3 or 4 like gameplays of people playing this, like testing it out for us as the consumer to watch, and 2 of them got torched. 2 of them were like OP with like dodging because there is no blocking. You can do a parry type of system with like a dodge and then a counter hit, but there is no blocking. You can only dodge. So yes, these are all green points for me.
about some of the contents of Black Myth Wukong. The post claims that the title will contain a new Game Plus mode at launch, will contain multiple endings, have over 160 enemy types, more than 80 boss fights, and is slightly easier than Soulsborne games. Alright, grains of salt, people. Whenever it relates to insider information, leaks, and so on, don't go putting all your eggs in this unconfirmed basket of information just yet.
That too.
This insider has accurately reported a number of details about the game, including trailer drops, pre-order details, PC specs, and more before the official news was announced. So while I'll never tell you to go into this post exploring
let me go back to
the
that.
game, including trailer drops,
How much space this thing gonna take up?
PC specs,
I decided to share some more important about Black Myth Wukong before the pre-orders open. The game will have 2 collector's editions. I want to get the collector's edition for this. A Wukong statue and golden headband, 130 gigabyte SSD recommended, 1060 IM84 for minimum, and 4080 Super NA for Ultra 4K. Hey, you can play this game in Ultra 4K? That's crazy.
and more before the
I'm still gonna get it
official
on
news was
PS5 just so I can
announced.
always have the
while
game,
I'll never
but-
tell you to go into this post expecting it to reflect the final product. Take some grains of salt, but also know that some of this may pan out to be true. We'll only know when the game comes out, but regardless, the information disclosed in this post, namely the 160 plus enemy types and 80 plus bosses, seem pretty incredible. Those are certainly
That sound about right though. From what we've seen, like I've seen like 30 plus different just enemies, character designs, bosses. So yeah, I can wholeheartedly believe it's going to be at least like 75 different enemy types and at least 50 different boss fights. I can put faith in at least that. Maybe not the 80 to 160, but I can believe like 50 to like 75, 100-ish. Yeah.
numbers, especially for a game that has been said to be a largely very linear and story-based title. And that's really where some fans are a bit worried about this game's direction.
I'm not so worried about it being linear because even the developer said this is linear, but there's also different pathways. Yes, it's a linear story, but there also are quest lines and pathways you can find. So again, I'm not mad at that.
Large in the boss category for being a linear game. Some fans think that Black Myth Wukong, the game that has been wowing the internet since its reveal back in 2020, may just end up being a glorified Unreal Engine 5 tech demo of a boss gauntlet. Black Myth Wukong being called a boss gauntlet has been exceedingly common among numerous gaming publications who were able to play the 2-hour demo of the title during Summer Game Fest, where the demo primarily featured one level, Blackwind Mountain, and a boatload of boss fights. Upwards of 10, in fact. Morgan Park at PCGamer.com reported his takeaway.
This is my okay. So this is what I don't understand. You have a whole community that praises Elden Ring, which is literally a boss rush. I mean, you'll fight a boss every damn 10 minutes. If you run a straight line, you'll come across somebody who could be considered a boss or like, like a side boss. Like he can do a lot of damage. Rather just a common like knight or a monster or like a creature or an actual legit boss that progresses the actual main quest line. So what are we mad about that for in this? Elden Ring is one of the most successful games in a long time. Well, why are we complaining about that here with this? And this is the creativity with this. I can shapeshift. I can teleport. I can take the weapons and abilities of certain bosses that I beat. Like, 2 hours isn't enough time to get a full read on what seems like a pretty big game, but some key facts Souls likers will want to know. Wukong's staff is his sole weapon. No, it's not. You end up taking weapons. Yes, it's his main like weapon you'll have throughout the game, but there are weapons you get to take from enemies and take their shape and their abilities. Not all enemies that you fight, but there are certain bosses that you'll end up getting their weapons when you turn it, when you have like enough like chi power to turn into them. Boss fights are most of the game, at least so far. Bro, you play for 2 hours, and I'm pretty sure they gave you a part so you could learn the combat and knowing like boss fights are most of the game. Again, Elden Ring likers, that's literally what Elden Ring is. Like, the spaces between bosses are small and not particularly exciting. Wukong heals with a single flash, limited by uses. When have you not had a certain amount of heals in a game? Only recently in Elden Ring can you get like 15 damn healing flash or whatever. Like, most games, like, you have max like 3 to 5 heals. That's not uncommon for a single RPG. Black Myth has a traditional combo system with ladder moves executed by linking heavy attacks into light combos. Traditional, what we're used to. What is the? I don't know. I'm not a Souls gamer. Like, Elden Ring is the first game of Souls and from software that I ever played that I'm even into. Other than that, I'm used to Uncharted, my God of Wars, my Ghost of Tsushima's, my Star Wars Jedi. So yeah, I mean, I think how many heals can we get in Star Wars Jedi? Maybe like 5. You can get like a good amount, but for a long time you'll have like 2 to 3 heals. Um, yeah, I don't, yeah, I don't.
Of his 2-hour demo playthrough, revealing, among other things, that 1. Boss fights are most of the game, at least so far, and 2. The spaces between bosses are small and not particularly exciting. Over on VideoGamesChronicle.com, author Jordan Midler reported at length that the title was among the most beautiful yet, being a true showcase of what Unreal Engine 5 can pull off, and also praised the game's fast-paced.
Yeah, I've seen like 10 different locations while like researching this game over the past like months and like then or years at a year at this point. I've seen open frost zones, foggy, freaking temples, forests, snowy mountains, this little amphibious area, underground like tunnels, freaking high mountain with the electric like bullhorn thing that you end up fighting. I've seen multiple areas. So if they somehow make that condensed, I'd be very surprised. But again, they gave you a 2 hour, like, they built that little showcase for that 2 hours. So they literally could have cut pathways in half just so you can get to certain areas pretty fast. Again, they're just trying to. They don't want you to run around for 20 minutes. Like, yeah, show me the game. Let me fight some bosses. Let me loot a little bit. But the main thing is like the showing you the game, the environment, and the bosses. So it's like I would see them making it, but I could be wrong. But at the same time, it's like I don't really get
Combat
that as
and
a
challenging
complaint.
difficulty. Towards the end of the article, he is being a true showcase of what Unreal Engine 5 can pull off, and also praised the game's fast-paced combat and challenging difficulty. Towards the end of the article, he sheds some light on the level design he experienced in the demo, which was, according to the developers, a section of the very first area in the game. What?
Keyword: a section in the game. That's what I'm saying. Like it's a condensed area that they could have possibly just made for y'all to play as a demo.
About the game's level design and boss rush like format, Midler stated, "The early section we played through was absolutely rammed with boss fights. While an ideal environment to demo the game and give players a sense of the combat, at times it felt like there were literally 90 seconds between boss encounters. The lack of mindless mobs in between to practice on is a choice we're conflicted about. Just to be clear, while much of the 2-hour-long demo did contain mostly boss fights, there were at least some areas that had players run through areas that did have some enemies to take down and practice their moves with the staff and magic attacks outside of the boss encounters." VG247's article on the game actually discussed a poison swamp the players had to traverse through, complete with the health-chipping poison status ailment, alluding to a potential expansiveness and level design that could be encountered ways into the game. While these areas were quite brief in a demo riddled with plenty of boss fights, and according to the journalists who played it, great boss fights at that, Rock Paper Shotgun's Ed Thorne actually questioned Black Myth Wukong developer Game Science whether or not they would classify their game as a boss rush, and Game Science responded with a resounding no. So yes, we indeed have a lot of bosses, papers fights, and according to the journalists who played it, great boss fights at that.
My thing is if a company or just like that guy who they said that he's been like a reliable source says there's 160 like enemy types and over 50 bosses, I would assume in certain areas you might run into like 3 bosses or 3 like enemies. So it's like I don't see like the surprise or like the annoyance of that. Like I could see if there was like, oh, there's gonna be about like 20, there's gonna be like 20 bosses. Well, then it would make sense for them to spread that out because there's less of them. But if it's more of them, shit, if I'm in a snowy mountain, I might run into 3 to 5 bosses if the game entails 80 plus different bosses. Like we're on a mountain. Like it might be buddy is guarding other buddy from you getting to the other buddy. Like this is I like it. I love this. I don't see the complaint of the information is right in front of your face. Like to complain about what is actually happening and we know what is happening is kind of hypocritical. I don't know. I don't get that.
Rock Paper Shotgun's Ed Thorne actually questioned Black Myth Wukong developer Game Science.
In my eyes, this just keep you on your toes. Like shit, I just fought somebody. Let me lock in again. Shit, let's keep it going.
Were quite brief,
but this, you know what though? This game will make for great content, bro. This will make for great streams. There's a lot of times, like even when you play like Elden Ring, you'll fight a boss and then a whole hour will go by of you just like trying to find another level or another enemy or another location. So if it's going to be like this, where it's like, hey, we ran into a boss like 2 minutes after another, that's great for like streaming and just entertainment and like keeping the attention of someone watching you play this game, or just even the gamer who doesn't even stream but just plays likes to play RPGs. For me, that's great. I love that. Now it's going to be more of a challenge, but I want a challenge. Like I play games on the hardest difficulty anyway, so it's like I love to see that. And like I said, again, this will make great for entertainment and just being able to keep your attention, because it's like, oh bro, shoot, did you go to the jungle? Like I fought this dude and I turned this corner and I was already like fighting this spider, or, you know, so on and so forth. So
A demo riddled with plenty of boss fights, and according to the journalists who played it, great boss fights at that. Rock Paper Shotgun's Ed Thorne actually questioned Black Myth Wukong developer Game Science whether or not they would classify their game as a boss rush, and Game Science responded with a resounding no. So yes, we indeed have a lot of bosses, said Game Science. What you played is the chapter 1 of this game, and when we designed this chapter, we wanted the players to be able to ease into the game and get used to the battles. Game Science continued with,
what did I just say? They made that couple hours they played specifically for that. We want you to get used to this. Clearly, every area is not going to have 100 bosses after, like piled on top of each other. But what we're going to preview for you is going to get you used to what the game is in a whole. Like we're cramming a lot of stuff in this little 2 hours that you get. So in this little area, it's a compact little area, but we're going to give you like 3 to 5 bosses in it. A couple minis, maybe 1 or 2 big bosses. I literally just said that.
however, this is not final, likely referring to the level that the journalists played, and we are keeping on making improvements and adjustments based on the feedback we get from you guys, and we will make the cadence better in the future. The purpose of this chapter is that we want players to experience different types of bosses at the very beginning. With numerous trailers that have been released for the game depicting incredible diversity in its environments and boss fights, it is interesting that many of these trailers don't showcase what takes place outside of these encounters, and that demo from Summer Game Fest and those who played it echo just that. A lot of hyperlinear areas containing incredible detail and vivid, dramatic landscapes, designed to funnel the player into the game's main focal point, the boss encounters. Rock Paper Shotgun goes further into the demo's linearity, pointing out that while the game certainly felt like a linear boss rush, that the level in the demo was crafted in such a way that spoke to this game's unique strengths. Wukong's forests, with their bamboo groves and undulating tracks, felt laid out in a way you'd expect from a real-life walk, lending its relative linearity a strange sort of authenticity. A sense that you were exploring carefully selected portions of space where the wider world was at once there and just beyond at the same time. Again, I think some of the best video game worlds are those you can't explore. Honestly, the demo's compact spaces were a relief, as they kept me motoring towards an endlessly exciting sequence of boss fights. In my previous video covering Black Myth Wukong, we explored the many ways that this title is not a Souls-like, a genre that this game is often compared to. While some players may regard it as one, Game Science deliberately focused on telling a cinematic, narratively driven, and linear experience to drive the game, rejecting that Black Myth would be a huge, expansive open world with numerous tools to create a number of builds akin to numerous Souls-likes. We are a team of only 140 people, and this is our first console-only game, said Game Science.
Bro,
with our
studio of only 140 people in this game looks like this, and it's this creative. Like, these 140 people, each one of these employees, developers, got a say in one of the character designs. That's like, if there's over 150 character types and like enemies, everybody was like, ooh, I want me a octopus, a spider, a dragon, a monkey, a bear, a tiger. Like, that's awesome.
It's not possible for us to do an open world game. Despite the game being described so far as being very linear and punctuated with intense boss encounters, Game Science has mentioned that there are some levels that are much more open-ended, featuring branching paths leading to different NPCs who have side quests with secret bosses, hidden loot, and more being tucked behind optional content.
Like, it's not completely linear. You can go down this path or this path, and it may take you on here and encounter a quest line, an ally, an enemy.
Types of levels. Getting back to the insider information about the game, the 80+ boss fights certainly reflect the boss-heavy nature of the game that we've heard about so far, but with the info also reporting that there will be more than 160 enemy types, that implies that there will be levels large enough to lay host to enemies that Wukong can engage with, as 160 is absolutely a staggering number of enemy types if that turns out to be even remotely.
Like, how many, like,
the game reportedly...
how many enemy types you think are in Elden Ring? like bare minimum like 300. Like there's like 15, like for each area on the map there's like 15 different types of enemies. You got dogs, knights, little gremlins, birds, bats, dragons, those little swamp things, those little cylinder ball like that explode. You got like hornet flies. You got damn eagles. You got wolves. You got the snails. You got the zombie wolves. You got the little miner that like you have a lot of enemy types. So it's like I don't see like again my point that I harping back on at the beginning. This they say this is not like a Souls game in terms of difficulty or like in that aspect or just even the game science said this is not a Souls like game and it doesn't look like that obviously the play style and the way you move and the fluidity of it is clearly not even it's not close to a Souls like game. Souls like is a little bit more stiff, but if we love Elden Ring and games like that, how do you not like this with all the extras on top of it? Like I don't get
Launching
it.
with New Game Plus and containing multiple endings, there will no doubt be plenty of reasons to come back to the title, but the final point here, that the game will be slightly easier than Soulsborne games, has also been talked about at great length for those who have played it, stating that Black Myth is much more forgiving than other games like it. Players will not only be able to hold on to some of their experience upon death, but with magical abilities like being able to slow down enemies and bosses with the immobilize spell, and having the ability to transform into boss characters to even the battlefield, these are just some of the ways that
It
help
looks so
distinguish
awesome,
this
bro.
game's difficulty from other games it is often compared to. In regard to difficulty levels, it has been confirmed that there are no difficulty options in this game, as the game has been balanced in such a way to give the player a deliberate challenge while
Damn.
also being quite accessible. That bit of accessibility is really what distinguishes a lot of what this game is against others it is compared to, by offering a player significant tools to overcome many of the game's challenges, streamlining character progression by including a number of skill trees to enhance Sun Wukong, and telling a much more direct story
I wonder
that
why they
clearly
went with that.
outlines the game's plot, with the game's linearity guiding the
I wonder why they went with a no difficulty setting. I would have loved to play this on a hard difficulty, but I guess a way you can make it harder is like wearing a certain armor. I feel like it might be like a Stellar Blade situation. Like if you wear a certain armor or don't, it will like take more damage and like will pretty much raise the difficulty of the game. I feel like it would be like that. Like they'll have armors or like stuff you can attach to your weapons that kind of make the game a little bit more challenging. I'm guessing.
experience in a deliberate manner. Boss rush or not, accurate leak or not, Black Myth Wukong is undoubtedly an incredibly exciting game that will no doubt stand as one of the biggest releases this year.
Yes,
so
sir.
definitely consider entering into my digital deluxe edition giveaway of the game. if
This a
any of
day one cop for
information
me, man.
is tickling your lust for dopamine. Linked in the description. Watch this video for a comprehensive look at everything we know so far about Black Myth Wukong, and that's all I got for you. See ya in the next one.
Appreciate it. Yeah, this again, Black Man Wukong still got my. I don't get the complaints about it, but everyone's entitled to their opinion, and everyone's a different type of gamer and look for different type of things in the games that they play. Yeah, like I said, this for me, this is my game of the year. This has been the game of the year for me since I seen it like a year ago at the showcase, just at the trailer, bro. I love like Japanese, Asian, samurai, like that whole mythology. I love that. I love that whole type of game, whole type of play style. God of War, that's the bag, bro. That's the bag. Um, yeah, it's still a day one cop for me. August 20th. It was like again, this literally just keeps getting me more and more excited about the game. When I heard about how many bosses it is and how many enemy types, or just seeing how many enemy types and their environments and stuff you can do, it is a little like I feel like the only knock is like they said like your main weapon is that pole, so it's not like you get many more weapons. You get weapons when you beat certain bosses, but you use those weapons when you take their form. Pretty much, it's not like you just keep their weapon. Now you can upgrade your staff I think to do like other abilities and like they said, like the freezing or slowing down time of the situations, certain circumstances like that. But again, we don't know everything yet. But this game is done. This game drops next month, literally. Yeah, but I'm excited for it. With this, people 50-50. Some people are 50-50 on it. I'm still 100% locked in. This is my day one cop. Are you guys in? Are you guys on the train, off the train, on the fence? Drop a comment down below. What games are you excited for in August? This is also Sunday. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.